Welcome back to NorthWest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter with Chris Bornstead and Kyle Torgeson in studio here. It is a beautiful Friday, July 20th. And we have a very fun subject on the show I want to talk about today. Spent some time on the road here recently and going to share with you some of our findings. Before we get into that, Kyle, hit us up with a weather report.
Weather report. Okay, today is going to be a high of 74 with low 51. It's going to be partly cloudy. It's going to be sunny all week. Tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy as well. It's going to be in the 90s, even going down to 88 on Thursday. But the highest day is going to be Monday. I'm pretty excited for this.
You know what? When I mentioned I was on the road for many of the last several days, came through Spokane late in the day on Tuesday. Do you know what the temperature was up there?
No, I'm more concerned that you didn't bring me back a Dick's Burger. But, anyway, what was the temperature?
It would have been a little bit gross by the time we got here. No, 103 degrees.
103?
103, yes. And it didn't cool off, even coming this direction, did not cool off to like 101 until it was nearly halfway across the state. So our northeast corner of the state was smoking hot the early part of this week. So anyway, today we're going to talk about a long-running subject here in Cowlitz County and in this region, and even in other areas of the country, but we're going to visit about specifically Cowlitz County and what's going on here. So talking about Millennium Bulk Terminals, a permit process they've been going through now for, are we talking about 6 years, Chris?
I think we're up to about 6 years now.
About 6 years.
Just ridiculously long time.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. And then, of course, the We Can Do Better coal movement that's out there. And so we've been promising for a long time that we are going to initiate the process of doing a little research on this subject. And so we're going to share some of that with you because the benefit of a recent trip that I took back to the Midwest. I spent 2 of those days in the areas of Gillette, Wyoming, which is where a coal mine happens to be.
Oh, no, not coal.
A coal mine happens to be in Gillette, Wyoming.
Did you say coal?
He said
I said
coal.
coal.
He said coal.
Yeah. Get the rope.
It's a dirty word.
Oh, no.
I said coal. Yeah. You notice I'm wearing my white shirt today, too, even talking about coal. So, get the...
Notice I'm wearing my
black shirt.
Rocky Point Market shirt,
yeah.
Where they also have Lady Ann's Pizza. Go buy some Lady Ann's Pizza this weekend.
I just have a nice jacket.
There's Chris's shout out, yes.
No. See, they gave me this shirt, to help promote them. They like our show. They like what we do. And I told them I wear the shirt on the show.
And you told them you'd wear it on the show. So there you go.
Junior,
Rocky Point Market.
Yeah. Junior has given me a shirt. There's several other people that have given me shirts too. They'll get them more in here. And that goes for anybody who gives me a shirt.
Well, you can take the weather down, Kyle.
But I like the weather.
They wanted to study that. They wanted to see which day to pick for perfect performance in the pool with their floaty. And it looks like it's going to be Monday when most of you are at work.
Yeah. Looks like all of next week, starting Sunday, all of next week.
All of next week.
The floaty weather in the pool.
Yep.
Well, let's bring up these signs we've seen in this area as it pertains to Millennium Bulk Terminals and the coal situation here. And so, Chris, you and I went to the Expo Center, and actually I think that's where these are at, because you look at that guardrail that's in the background. That looks very similar to the same rails that are over at the Expo Center here in Cowlitz County. And so this sign here in this one here, the No Coal Exports, We Can Do Better, and that's powerpasscoal.org, I believe is the website that they're running on that. So, Chris, you and I were there at the hearing that was at the Expo Center. This is already a number of months ago.
Yeah, I've attended several of the hearings, so more than one.
More than one. We've been at multiple ones, but the most recent one that went multiple days. I believe it was a Thursday, Friday, went over the weekend, and I think started up again on Monday or Tuesday, something like that. Anyway, there were a lot of people wearing these, and when I say a lot of people, these were, I actually didn't recognize most of them. They were
a lot of them weren't.
And I noticed when I signed in on the sign-in roster that you could do over in the We Can Do Better building they had set up. I noticed most of the addresses there were either Portland or Seattle.
Right. Yeah. Very, very few local people are against coal. That's why at a commissioners meeting a couple of weeks ago, when we had some citizens that are against coal, they were giving a whole bunch of misinformation and opinion. And one of the things they said is that nobody around in our area supports coal, and that I couldn't let that fly. I had to get up and say, you know what, there's two things I had to do. I had to defend one of our commissioners for going to Washington D.C. and advocating for us in this situation, and then I had to let them know that there was people that do support the coal project here, and I was one of them.
Okay, so a few things when you think about this, we can do better effort. One of the questions you might ask is that in communities like Gillette, in communities like Missoula, Montana, which happens to be significant railheads go through there, and we'll show you some of the footage here in just a moment. There are a ton of trains containing coal that go through Missoula, Montana.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then of course there's the coal mine in Gillette, and a lot of coal trains in Gillette. Now you would probably think, being that you see these "We Can Do Better" signs around here, and no coal exports mentioned around here, that what might be the reaction of the people who are actually interfacing with it every single day in these areas back in the Midwest, where it is being mined and where it is traveling through their communities and their cities on a regular basis. What's their reaction to this? So one of the things that I expected to find, and Kyle, go ahead and roll that coal train in the background. This is actually video footage shot out the window. We are on Highway 90 coming down the road, and Steph shot this video out the window. And so let's show that. So there was many of these trains that we encountered like this, with car after car full of coal. And so this particular video footage is being shot in Montana, just outside of the Missoula area.
Looks like we're in one of those old films where we're running.
Yeah. I'm going to turn around and run this direction. So, yeah. Anyway, so we're seeing all these coal trains. You know, one of the things that I kind of was hoping to see at least some evidence of was the black coal dust cloud that apparently, as some people say, is accompanying these trains, and that the countryside is all black wherever coal is at, and they destroy the real estate, and they destroy the country, and they destroy the environment, and all these bad things. Well, here's the interesting thing. There's no coal dust cloud around this train at all, or any of them that we found out there. I couldn't find any coal clouds at all. So I thought, hey, I got a 4K camera, shoots a super high resolution photograph. So it went right over to the railroad tracks. Coal train has just passed, keep in mind. Bring this other photo up. Let's make sure people get a nice zoom in look here. You guys see the coal dust on the tracks here?
Well, see that little speck right there? I can't tell if that's just regular dust or coal. No, I'm just kidding. No, but
there's no coal dust on the tracks.
This board right here is pretty dirty.
Yeah, it is pretty dirty. Yeah.
You can go anywhere in the country where no coal train has ever been and find tracks that look exactly like this.
To be honest,
looks like they're still using the wooden railroad ties too.
Yeah.
These rails actually kind of look better than ours.
They're about as clean a tracks as you can find. Yeah, so when people are talking about, there's this contamination of coal dust, happening everywhere around the country, and how bad this is for our area, if they start bringing more coal trains here. We didn't find any evidence of that. The tracks are as clean as a whistle. There's no coal dust clouds in the air around any of these coal trains. So that is debunked. And here's the thing is, to add some further credibility to this, yeah, Kyle is zooming in even more here for us. To share this a little bit further. So this is another thing that people have said. There's a even more zoomed in look, you guys.
If you have a big TV at home, just switch over to that. Plug your computer.
Switch over to that.
You'll
and bring
see
this
no.
up here
You'll see
and
no
take a
coal
look at
dust.
this.
Yeah.
Can you spot the coal dust?
Yeah, this is the Where's Waldo. Can you spot the coal dust? Here's the thing, you guys. I wore this white shirt for a reason. You can wear a white shirt right next to the tracks, stand there, let the train go by, and you will find no coal dust on your clothing. So whoever makes this statement or claim here locally about, the contamination and whatever else that happens as a result of these coal trains, it's baloney. Complete hogwash. And the interesting thing is I don't know what might have been the case when they were transporting coal across the country 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or whatever. But I can tell you what the situation is transporting coal across the country right now today. It's one of the cleanest things you're going to see happen. So, all right, let's move off of the coal dust. There's no coal dust clouds, and there's no coal dust on the tracks, you guys. Okay, so here's another very common thing that people have talked about. And let's show some of the homes here in Gillette. This is actually, you can see this development off the highway, off Highway 90, just slightly west of Gillette. And these are the kinds of homes they're building in the area. Now, for people who say that, go ahead.
All these people have cancer, right? Because the other side, all these no coal people, they say that, causes cancer. So I would expect
all this disease.
Right. I would expect all these people living right next to the coal place, they would have cancer, right?
And you would think cancer? These people would be fleeing the area in droves.
Yeah.
However, that's not the case. Let's show a few of these other houses here that you have, Kyle.
See, what I'm confused about, why would they use light colors when they know there's going to be covered in coal dust?
They love the sarcasm.
They weren't thinking ahead.
Yeah, well, they weren't thinking, they should not have gone with, and look at that nice white driveway there. I mean, what were they thinking?
You think this was actually a white house and that the coal dust did this?
And maybe it turned gray from...
That's a nice house.
That is a nice house. And there
Not
are
so much for the lawn, we need to work on that, folks. But
the point here is, Chris, new construction.
Yeah, new construction.
Okay,
yes.
You know what? There are you can go to Gillette, Wyoming, and you will find far more new housing starts and new houses like this being built in Gillette. Because one of the really interesting thing is that having coal and shipping coal out of your community creates a significant economic boom. And that is, in fact, what is going on in Gillette, Wyoming. And there's this development that you can see right off of the highway. Tons of beautiful houses, and many of them do have their nice green lawns in now and all that kind of good stuff. So beautiful homes there. Here's the other thing, you guys. Remember we were showing this sign. Kyle, if you would go back to the sign that shows the We Can Do Better. Let's put this back up again.
Can I stop you right there, though?
Sure.
Because something happened last week or earlier in this week. This We Can Do Better crowd has been pushing this cross-laminated timber. Mm-hmm. And they're saying that they're going to do better. And this cross-laminated timber is going to be the project that does better. And they had one that was slated, I think, in the Seattle or the Portland area to be built down there. And guess what? They canceled the project. It became too expensive, and so now they have lost that cross-laminated. That is, I think it's probably going to go that way pretty much all the time. So the one thing that they were banking on just failed them, and that's the cross-laminated timber. So again, the one option that they had to try to do better with was just taken from them.
The other thing is if you're familiar with the word plywood.
Yeah, it's just.
How long has plywood been?
But that
plywood is cross-laminated lumber.
But they're highly intelligent folks, much more intelligent than the rest of us. So they have to come up with these new words and these new things.
I'm just telling you, there's nothing new with that term.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they had to create a new term, to push it. Because if they went around saying plywood's the answer, they're going to get laughed at.
Are you familiar with OSB?
I am.
Yeah. Are you familiar with LVL, which is a laminated veneer lumber? Those are like beams that have significantly higher load ratings they use in construction. You familiar with those? It's cross-laminated lumber.
Yeah. I really think they need to take the signs down because they've had the signs up for how many years now?
Okay, so let me go to these signs here. Better. So for people who are thinking here, live in Longview and Kelso and Cowlitz County and have seen some of these We Can Do Better signs. Okay, now back up. I was in Wyoming and Montana on Monday and Tuesday this week. And I went through and shot video, running the video camera right out of the car, driving through residential neighborhoods all over in Gillette, in Missoula, and these areas where there's plenty of coal trains buzzing through. How many signs did I find that say we can do better or power past coal? How many signs did I find?
Oh, probably none. They probably all support it over there.
People, Chris is right. It's a big goose egg.
Wow.
What I was really floored by is this all we can do better effort is right here in this community.
Oh, it's not just here. It's where it's West Coast and East Coast. You know, let's go ahead and say let's call it what it is.
I get that. My point is that if this was really all about environmental concerns, if it was all about making a real estate market go in the toilet because of all this pollution, if it was all about making a community driving it into the ground and Longview would potentially dry up and go away if they put a coal terminal here. You guys, this is baloney, because in all the communities from Gillette all the way this way in which they're interfacing with coal or mining coal or using coal, you won't find a single one of these signs. None.
Did you find out who built the housing project? Was it private investor? Was it
You're talking about the homes that are there?
Homes.
Oh, they're all private investment.
Okay.
Family, single family dwellings.
I could see somebody from the other side saying, well, that company probably just built that housing project right there so they could say, look, all these people live here. But no,
single family homes all over.
Okay.
The other thing is, too, is that throughout the community, there's a older housing district there as well, just like, we have in this community. I was really impressed with how well maintained the entire community Gillette really is, and how nice even the old housing districts are that are there. People have really, that shows evidence that, number one, people care about the community, but they have something called discretionary income to keep even their older house up. And when you see these older homes that are there, I was just really impressed with how beautiful, how nice, and how well restored a lot of those houses were.
Yeah, it's really crazy because if you listen to our president, who has come out and said, you guys, coal is not dead and we will be moving it forward. These folks are all acting like coal is done. It's over with. It's finished. We're going to find something else.
That is far from true.
And that is far from true, you guys. The only place where coal is dead is where you have large populations of progressive liberal Democrats who are against this type of thing. Everywhere else you go in the country, you're going to run into support for coal. It's just the West Coast and the East Coast, because they're blue, and that is one of the things that side pushes, is they are anti-coal. So, again, everybody between the two coasts pretty much embraces coal, and they understand that it powers their cities, powers a lot of things, their electricity. If we took away coal, Seattle would be in big trouble, and they'd be up there going, what do we do now? We don't know what to do. But, it's not dying. It's not dead, you guys. And they're only improving it and making it cleaner and more efficient. And
I'd also point out that if world environment is what somebody is really concerned about, the United States is not in the top 25 most polluted countries.
Right, yeah, we went over
and many
this.
of those countries are burning very dirty, very unclean coal. Our coal being shipped to those countries would actually improve the global environment.
I have a friend that does a lot of traveling, and he shares those pictures with me, some of these places he goes. And some of the places he has taken pictures of were at coal plants in other countries, and he sent me this picture, Kevin, and it's you can't believe the differences. We are very, very, very environmentally friendly over here, to like probably overly environmentally friendly, because I'm looking at these coal plants and these coal shipping terminals in these other countries, and there's coal everywhere. I mean, just coal. I mean, just whatever. There's no cleaning it up.
They don't care. Yeah.
There's black roads that leading out of the place. So, if you guys, these people are all going to burn coal, and they're going to burn coal way past the time that we are on this planet, because that's all they have. We can sell them clean coal. And that's what we can do, is we can help minimize. And do you know why they're burning
coal, though? Do you know why they're doing it? Because in those countries, and let's just take India as an example, the Indian government is not subsidizing solar and wind, which that's what those two energy sources require in order to exist. the government is not subsidizing those energy sources. They're using energy sources that actually pay for themselves.
I was all for solar power until they started making all these regulations like you have to hook to the grid. You have to sell your power back to the thing. No, what if I want to sell my power to somebody else? So, they kind of killed the solar thing for me because of all the restrictions they put on it. If I want to go off the grid, I want to go off the grid, you guys. Don't force me to have to hook up and sell the power back to you guys. It's mine.
Yeah.
But, that's, again, the guy...
You can take this sign down.
Well, the one thing that people say, like, we can do better, they want immediate change. They want to go from 0 straight to 100. They don't think about, like, it takes baby steps for a big change like this, right? For us to, as a, human race, to step away from coal, everyone practically has to step away from coal. That's basically what's being asked, right? But if we export cleaner coal than what they're using and the whole world starts using American clean coal, we can start weaning people off, and then we can start talking about better options. But it's baby steps. People just want 0 to 100, but there's other numbers in between.
And by exporting the clean coal that we have here in the United States, we actually help clean up the environment in the entire planet.
If America does like clean energy, right? Hydro, solar, wind, all that. Well, there's other people that are way heavier polluters than us, and that we don't even matter technically on that scale. So,
yeah, just for our viewers, go out and research the top polluted countries.
we actually have a show.
Yeah, we have a show. Where
If you scroll down somewhere, if you're on YouTube or on Facebook, you can actually find one of our shows where we talk about that.
Yeah. And so the United States is not in that top 25. And even start thinking about, outside of this subject a little bit, just pollution into the ocean with plastics and other things like that. You start finding out that the top 3 rivers that pollute the ocean with their trash and their plastic and everything else, literally 95% of the ocean's plastic and pollution comes from 3 rivers, none of which are in the United States.
Oh, imagine that.
Imagine that.
Crazy.
Yes. So this is an important thing. Now, here's what we're going to do as a follow-up. Oh, I also want you to share a couple of those graphs, if you would, Kyle, because I want to show people what's actually going on in the housing market. Because a lot of people said that you can see the new homes that I shared, and you can go there and look for yourself. I want to show you actually statistically what's happening in the housing market in Gillette. So if you would, show the graph from 2009 to current.
I will in just a second.
I'm going to bring that up on the map here behind us.
Boom.
There you go, guys. That is the graph from dating back in 2009. The most current one that you're seeing here is heading into 2019 and what the forecast is. There's little ups and downs in this all along, but as you look at this and you go, the housing market has, on its trend, has steadily increased. There's another graph here that I want to show people. So bring up the other one here that shows the the Gillette market overview. So pop that up on the screen if you would, please.
It's popped.
Oh, it's there. Okay, cool. So the data through May 31st, 2018, 251,700 is the housing average, and it is up 3.9%, the 1-year forecast, up 3.9%. That is actually when you think about investing in real estate or owning in real estate, very nice increase in what's going on in housing in Gillette.
Yeah. What this tells me is that my original price tag, the one home that we showed, was way off.
Yeah.
So we are not moving to Gillette.
Yeah. No, what do you think it was? 150,000?
Like 150, 160,000. But apparently, if we're looking at this, it's going to be probably
the median listing price, 222,000. Well, here's the thing, you guys. If supposedly coal destroys a community and its real estate values and everything else, why would the average house be selling at 222,000 in Gillette?
I would still pay 222,000 for that house. I mean, because out here it was probably worth 500,000. So
the possibility of finding a family wage job in that area, I'm going to tell you right now, is many times stronger than it is here in Longview, Kalispell, College County area.
But do they have pool weather?
Dude.
They have, yes.
It's Wyoming. They have horses too.
Yes. I have to tell you a little, share with everybody a little fun side story. So we were in We had at this point then traveled
I
into
think I know
Montana,
where we're going here.
and we were out in the we're in this mall shop, but it's actually a very well developed area of Missoula, and we were at this mall shop. We went to a grocery store to get some groceries and stuff like that. We came out, and you don't notice it so much when you're exposed to this area, because I had the sunroof open and the windows open, and we were just enjoying our trip cross country. So we leave the vehicle, we go inside the store where the environment is more controlled. We come outside the store, and we're standing on the front sidewalk, and my daughter Jackie goes, "Dad, it smells like a cow's butt out here. That's disgusting."
I thought it was a cowboy's butt.
Yeah, a cow's
Cowboy's
butt.
butt. I saw the post online.
Yeah, she said it smells like a cow's butt out here. And no, because there was the fresh aroma of cow manure outside, even in the city. But you're in ranching country, and some of these ranches that you go by are huge. Like, you drive miles down the highway, and you're still bordering the same ranch, and tons of cattle out there. And yeah, even when you're in city, you'll know it. But as somebody said, that's the smell of money.
Yeah. These ecological groups, they really confuse me, Kevin. I'm not quite sure. Do you know what an open face mine is?
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently, I learned this from going to the Cal commissioners commissioners update meetings this last week. And I'm not going to name any names here, but I want to say that I was in this meeting, and there was one of the largest environmental people. I call them eco-terrorists, but apparently I've been told that is not a good term to use. I use it because the fact that these people don't realize that their actions kill every job that comes into our area, and that's kind of like economic terrorism to me. But pointed out, there's an agency here in this town that is using an open face mine without a permit. Mm-hmm. Okay, they have not had a permit for a very long time. Now, this confuses me, and maybe you can help me out. At this point in the meeting, we're able to speak, but not a peep from the environmental person who was sitting right across me for learning that there was an open face mine being mined here in our area, in our county, by a local company. They don't have a permit. Not a word. So it seems like they only care about certain things, which is kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, because the underlying truth is, Chris, is if the real concern was strictly environmentalism, if the real concern was environmentalism, you wouldn't be hearing them talking about coal dust on the tracks and coal dust, in all these cities, and how coal ruins this and ruins that and everything else. They're making an environmental argument, which, first of all, can't be substantiated. We've already shared that here today. Can't be substantiated. It's a dishonest argument. And the reason why you see them on the issue, you just having no voice, no opinion whatsoever. The reason why that occurs, Chris, is because it actually really isn't about environmentalism. Right. And when somebody wants to control people's economic outcomes, their lives, what's going on in the government, etc., and they want to control that, and that's the real agenda, that's the real purpose behind what they're doing, then you'll notice huge disconnects in the so-called environmental push or anything else, because that's not what it's about.
It's just not environmentally, though, either, because I tested this theory out again on a different subject. Mm-hmm. About a week ago or 2 weeks ago, again, I went into the commissioner's update meeting, which most citizens don't. And again, there was somebody in there that I knew leaned a certain way. And there were some questions asked about the juvenile jail, and when the questions opened up for asking, I was right on it. I wanted to see what their reaction would be if I was able to prove that something was going on in our community, and to see how they would respond. So I asked the question to the commissioners, all three of them, in the commissioners' update meeting. This is probably on some sort of record. I asked them, with the issues that they had going on at the juvenile jail, I said, remember last year I came and I testified to you guys and talked about how in our county that we won't house adults for ICE, but we will house the kids, the ICE children, for money in our juvenile jail. Mm-hmm. And I asked the commissioners, this is kind of confusing. We need to have one policy. We can't.
It's like $80 a day or something like that. The county makes
$88 a day. So in front of these people that I knew that would be up in arms over this, I asked the question. I said, commissioners, are we currently housing any of the children that ICE have been detaining and holding for, hearings? And the answer was yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, we are housing them. We're one of 3 facilities on the West Coast that can do so. Not a peep from the person that was opposed to it publicly a couple of weeks ago. I went home, I put it on my Facebook page. Yes, we are. I was able to confirm that we are housing these immigration children here, holding them for trial. We're making $88 a day on them. Not a peep from anybody. Mm-hmm. Nothing. They didn't fight. No protests, no sign waving, no nothing. So I'm really confused by these groups and these people that are all against this stuff, but yet when it's going on in their own community, they're
Chris,
gone.
The bottom line is they're against economic progress, because if economic progress happens, what happens to the citizenry in that area? They become more independent, they become more free, they become less reliant on their government and their the local entities. And so when people and or a group and or a party and or whoever wants to control individuals, well, the last thing you really want is economic opportunity. In fact, we even saw here recently, not long ago, comedian Bill Maher, who isn't funny anymore. Comedian Bill Maher
Hang on. He was never funny.
Yeah.
I have to say that.
There's a few things that he did in the past which I thought were a little humorous. But Bill Maher, who is not funny, comes on and says, if getting Trump out of office means that we have to lose all these jobs, the economy has to tank, the banks have to blow up, everything else, well, then so be it, bring it on. That's what we have to do in order to get back power, get back control. Obviously, he's clearly advocating for the Democrats to do that. He wants the country and its citizens to fail in order for control and power to be shifted back to the party he wants to be in power. That's what he's looking for. That's what people in these organizations and these groups are looking for. Because let me give you an example. If this was entirely about environmentalism, which it's not, this whole argument around whether Millennium bulk terminals should get their permits, whether coal should be exported out of our terminal, whether coal should be mined back in Gillette, Wyoming, if these were all environmental things, then we'd be having honest conversation about all the elements of it, and people would be sharing evidence like we just did today. But that's not what it's about. It's about power. It's about controlling the economy. And you mentioned a couple examples of where you were confused why the environmentalist people didn't stand up and have a complaint.
I mean, as soon as you find out that they're operating without a permit and that they will probably most likely not operate with a permit in the future.
Okay, so let me give another issue. That's a local issue, that if all of these things were purely about environmentalism, that you should see all of these we can do better coal people taking all of their time and energy and go down and picketing the county offices, the cities, everybody in this community. They should be picketing them to do something different with the landfill deal. Because proposal, hold on, let me finish. The proposal that's on the table from Republic Services, the environmental benefits are substantial to the county. They're substantial to the people in Toutle. We've already shared many examples of that here on this show. And then if we even go down to Corvallis, Oregon, and we look at a landfill that's being managed in the same kind of wet environment that we have here, leachate, which we know is the primary concern of pollution in landfills. Same environment, same situation, everything else. They have like a quarter to a third of the leachate we have right here in Cowlitz County.
Yes.
The environmentalist people should be, if it was entirely about environmentalism, now, they should be at our county offices and our city offices and protesting.
Back up.
Go ahead.
We have one, and I'll give a shout out to that person. That person is Chris Turner.
Chris Turner.
And she, myself, Commissioner Mortensen, and another gentleman spent about 2.5, 3 hours with her last week talking about this issue of the landfill and listening to her concerns. And it was very, very surprising. It sounds like we are now on the same page. Chris Turner and I. Mm-hmm. Chris Turner and I are on a similar page, and both looking like we're going to be supporting the. I am supporting the landfill, but it looks like that she is also going to be supporting the land deal too. Most likely,
public-private partnership.
Yeah, the public-private partnership.
Okay, so let me go
aspect of
back
it.
to something else on this subject here that I want to bring full circle. So sometime, probably about the third week of August, and we'll work it out with all of our schedules. This is when we're going to make the road trip back to Gillette, into Wyoming, into Montana. And here's what we're going to do on this follow-up trip, you guys, is we're going to have on-the-ground conversations with people in these communities, not only community leaders, but people who live there, and we're going to put them on camera and bring them back here and share with you. And some of these we will be sharing live because the, I don't know what Kyle's doing here. We're going to share with you live because we'll live stream from these communities and et cetera. And then, of course, bring back plenty of recorded video as well. But
I
want
hope
to
I can
summarize.
make this trip. My wife's watching right now, so she's just now learning about this too. So that'll be fun.
So to summarize, I want to simply say this. There is no evidence whatsoever of a we can do better coal movement anywhere back in the Midwest where the coal is being mined, and all the cities in which the coal trains come through this direction to the West Coast. People need to know that by attempting to shut down Millennium bulk terminals, the only thing they're doing is thwarting the advancement of jobs here in this community. That's the only thing they're doing, because those coal trains are still coming here. They're just going to other ports and exporting there. We are not stopping this from happening. All they're doing is increasing the cost because the trains are going a further distance, and it's having a nice economic benefit to the economy in Canada because many of those trains are also going to Canadian ports to get the coal out of here. But it's moving regardless of our so-called anti-coal movement here. And so anyway, I just wanted to say that these signs that you see, the we can do better, that's right here in this community. We saw none of them in all the travels from Gillette this way. The arguments about coal dust on the tracks, found zero evidence of it. The argument of these clouds of coal dust around these coal trains, we shot a lot of footage of the trains there. Zero. No evidence of it whatsoever. The arguments they make around how it hurts the community and the housing market takes a dive and you lose value in your homes. Zero evidence. In fact, tons of evidence of the exact opposite. And if having coal in the community makes people leave and vacate the area, zero evidence of that. In fact, some of the nicest housing developments we saw were actually in Gillette them itself. So to summarize all of that with folks, part of the reason why it was necessary for me to do a little bit of this advance homework here and groundwork here is that before we made the trip of getting everybody out there and sharing this with people and letting people know that we were going to do this, I wanted to take the time to cover some of the roads so we knew exactly where to go to make our trip the most effective on this next go around. But in late August, we will share live footage from Gillette, from the mine, from the cities along the way, from Missoula, from all these train heads where they're doing track switching and where there's loaded up with coal. From those communities, we're going to share with you live footage right here in Northwest Digital News in late August, and you can see what people are saying and thinking about coal back in the Midwest. And it's not at all what we're hearing from the few people that show up from Seattle and Portland to fight coal, and the few people here in our community that think as well that coal is a bad thing. Not at all the case. Chris, you had something you wanted to share?
No, it's just funny. It's just a silly joke. I just was going to show you some breaking news.
Okay, I'm going to read this. Breaking news. The press has now discovered that in 1973, Donald Trump used Russian dressing on his garden salad.
I'm telling you.
Collusion.
Collusion. Yes.
Yep. Fake news.
All right, what do we have on...
I have a sign for this.
Oh, yeah.
What do we have on... you can get rid of the we can do better stuff. We don't need to
So
give
Kevin,
them
if you're
any
wondering,
more
while you're
press
talking and you're wondering what I was doing, I got a pointer. So now I can hey, look, no coal exports.
I see what you're doing there.
Build terminals here. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. I would like the people who are advocates of the We Can Do Better movement to share the economic information of where housing suffers when there's coal, to share the evidence of where there's dust and all this other kind of stuff that creates all this disease, that it does this, that, to share it. Share the evidence of it, share the links of it, put it all down there. We're going to do a ton more research on this subject come August.
They can come sit right here in this chair, right here, and I will sit right over there in that chair. And then you can try to convince Kevin Hunter, Kyle,
change their mind.
Change their minds. Let's see you guys do it. I don't think they will take that challenge, but
they won't take the challenge because the evidence doesn't support the claims.
All it takes is say yes. We'll plan a date. It's easy. Just come on down and sit.
Come on down, have a seat, and let's talk. So, hey, there is an event going on in the Longview Civic Center. I want to just mention before we go off air here today. What's happening in the city center, Chris?
Like a whole bunch of people drinking, or something. I don't know.
What is the Mountain Brewery event that's being
is that what was
hosted
there?
by the
Now,
Parks
see,
and
I
Rec.
assumed they were setting up for Squirrel Fest, and I guess I was wrong on that because they put the fence up all around the
That's
the
why
civic
the
circle.
fence is around the whole thing, because it will be an event in which they're serving local brews and all that kind of good stuff. And Jennifer Wills and the Parks and Rec department here in our area is putting on that event. So that starts tomorrow.
Do they have a Facebook for that so I can pop it up?
Take a look there. I have received notifications online of the so maybe that's it there. Look at what
I have to look more into this, but somebody said, yeah, never mind. We'll just do this on a different show.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to leave it there, conclude for the day here on Northwest Digital News. If you'd like to experience some local brewing, head to the Longview Civic Center tomorrow and join in on the party over there. And share this broadcast with your friends, family, and other people. And feel free to comment on the link with your own research with regard to coal and its impacts in the community. I was very delighted to say once again, I was very delighted to learn of the positive impact and the warm reception that people throughout the Midwest and everywhere leading up to Cowlitz County, where the trains travel carrying car after car of coal, how warmly embraced it was everywhere across our country. With that, we're going to conclude here on Northwest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter, Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgerson.
One last thing.
Ballots
drop today, you guys. They go in the mailbox. You will be seeing your ballots starting tomorrow and through the next weekend. Don't forget to vote.
Don't forget to vote.
I also have a thing. So we have a Patreon, by the way. I dropped a link in the comments. It's pretty cool. All it takes is you can donate $1. We do 12 shows a month, news shows. And that's basically $1 per show, $12 per month. Pretty cool. Helps us out. We can get better stuff. Boom, there it is. So here we actually post videos here. And
go back up to the top there so people can see. There's already 4 patrons on Patreon. So this is an account we started not long ago.
This is
but
just
you can
Patreon,
see
you guys.
You can see it's already it's starting to take off nicely. 4 patrons here on Patreon, and the donations now are at $96 a creation. So very cool. Yeah. Donations that come through Patreon. And part of the evidence, the continuing growing evidence that the broadcasts here on Northwest Digital News are not only valued but appreciated by people throughout our viewing and listening audience.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to also call attention to a broadcast that Kyle and I did with SMB Nation, and a little shout out to Harry Brailsford and Jennifer and company there with SMB Nation. We are now doing partner broadcasts with them as well, and you'll see Harry Brailsford showing up here on Northwest Digital News on occasion on what we'll be calling Tech Tuesday, and sharing tech-related information with you. What a great group of people they are, and one of the most recognizable faces in the computer and tech industry, Harry Brailsford and company, and SMB Nation. So glad to have them being a contributor here on Northwest Digital News. With that, we are actually going to conclude this time. Kevin Hunter, Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgerson.